Imagine you're sound asleep in your living room, and suddenly you hear heavy footsteps trampling right above your head. In New York or London, you'd immediately assume you're being robbed, or worse, that your upstairs neighbor is an absolute psychopath. But in certain cliffside villages in Iran, that's just a Tuesday. It simply means the guy upstairs is leading his donkey to the market, or the local kids are playing a game of soccer right on top of your ceiling. Welcome to the land of Persia, where the conventional logic of space is spectacularly turned upside down, and the boundary between private property and public thoroughfare completely vanishes under the boots of total strangers. For decades, we've been spoon-fed a generic, monochromatic narrative about Iran through a bleak matrix of breaking news, geopolitical friction, barren deserts, and isolated ultra-conservative towns. Mainstream media loves telling you how this place might break apart, but they conveniently forget to tell you how people have actually managed to thrive here for thousands of years. In fact, 2D Google Maps or the most sophisticated GPS algorithms become total garbage out here because they have absolutely no way of navigating a house numbering system stacked entirely on a 3D vertical axis. But if you turn off the TV, step off the plane, and look at the actual reality, you encounter a completely different Iran. Don't look for a flat, predictable desert. Look up at the jagged peaks of the Alborz range, where dense fog rolls over lush forests that look remarkably like northern Europe. Or look at the roaring metropolis of Tehran, where hip 20-somethings sip iced oat lattes in modern cafes and use cashless tap-to-pay systems, smoother than half the major cities in the US. Luxury cars, tech startups, and a fast-paced modern lifestyle are freely moving right behind the ancient brick walls. It's an architecture of interdependence, where humans never tried to flatten nature to build soulless concrete blocks. Instead, they carved their lives into the volcanic tuff, read the wind to cool their homes, and signed an invisible social contract written in mud and stone. This is a world with zero engine noise, where time doesn't rush forward, but seeps like morning mist into the cracks of ancient masonry. So, lace up your boots tightly. We're stepping into the impossible, most seductive corners of Iran, where real life actually begins right where the headlines told you never to look. Leaving the neon-drenched avenues of Tehran behind, our journey cuts straight across the Alborz mountain range toward the north, where the dense sogs of the Caspian Sea roll over the slopes, completely swallowing the village of Masuleh. This 1,000-year-old settlement wasn't built on flat Earth. It clings to a brutal 60-degree precipice, like a cluster of fossilized bird nests. With such unyielding vertical terrain, a fundamental urban dilemma arises. How do you build a functioning transportation network without accidentally pushing the entire village into the abyss below? The ancient Persian solution was simple, yet it completely upends the dilemma logic of modern urban planning. They turned the rooftops of the lower houses into the public thoroughfares for the houses above. Imagine waking up in the morning, stepping out of your bedroom door, and the very first thing you see isn't your front yard, but the soles of a neighbor's boots walking right past your face. In Masuleh, while you are inside your home sipping a warm cup of tea, right above your ceiling, literally less than 6 feet above your head. Kids are playing soccer, vendors are hauling goods, and the ancient stone pathways are vibrating with the rhythm of daily life. The conventional boundary of private property completely dissolves here, yielding to an invisible social contract written in mud, sweat, and stone. The people walking above must step lightly out of respect for those sleeping underneath, while the family reinforcing their roof with local walnut timber and thatched earth understands that they are carrying the physical safety of their community on their shoulders. Because of this bizarre step structure, you will notice an absolute absence of engine noise. Masuleh is a strict zero-motor vehicle zone. Every sack of cement, every bag of flour, and every single propane tank must be moved entirely by human muscle or on the backs of donkeys up and down the slick, mist-shrouded stone staircases. If you are a gig economy delivery driver used to weaving through New York traffic on a moped, Masuleh is officially the worst nightmare of your career. Yet behind this quixotic setup lies an incredibly sophisticated engineering marvel that mainstream travel channels completely miss. The locals coat their rooftops with a specialized, counterintuitive blend of lime clay mud mixed with ash, straw, and molasses. This yellowish ochre composite possesses a highly unusual biological property. The more moisture it absorbs from the Caspian Sea winds, the harder it seals. It effectively transforms into a self-healing concrete that cures with rain rather than eroding under it. Furthermore, a strict, unwritten civic code governs this architecture. Rooftop maintenance is never a solo endeavor. The financial obligation and labor of waterproofing are divided equally between the family living directly underneath and the neighbors who use that exact roof surface as their daily walkway. But beyond the architectural curiosity, it's the human texture that refuses to let you look away. When the winter fog rolls in, wrapping the old carved wooden balconies in a cold embrace, the village instinctively shrinks into its close-knit terraced spaces. The rich, smoky aroma of mirzagazemi, a local northern dish of charred eggplants blistered over open flames, crushed with massive amounts of garlic, tomatoes, and fried eggs, wafts from one kitchen window straight into the next, turning dinner into a shared sensory experience for the entire hillside. A man standing on a third-tier balcony only needs to lean down to hand a piping hot glass of strong black tea to a traveler, rando walking across his roof. In a hyper-modernized world where humanity increasingly isolates itself behind sterile concrete high-rises and screen-induced solitude, Masuleh offers a quiet, profound lesson. When the environment applies absolute pressure, the individual household is no longer a viable unit of survival. Only an architecture of conscious interdependence is resilient enough to withstand the weight of time. Leaving the terraced, rain-swept paths of Masuleh behind, we push northwest into East Azerbaijan province, ascending the severe, sun-bleached slopes of the Sahand mountain range. From a distance, the landscape looks like a surreal, geometric glitcher, chaotic colony of massive, hollowed-out stone cones pointing sharply toward the sky. It looks less like a human settlement and more like a termitarium, abandoned by a colossal prehistoric species. This is Kandovan, a village carved entirely into ancient volcanic ignimbrite and tuff, unlike the ghost towns or preserved monuments you usually find in Western history books. The most shocking thing about Kandovan is that it is very much alive. Behind these jagged rock facades, people are cooking dinner, weaving rugs, and complaining about their internet connections tonight, just as their ancestors have done for over 700 years. The story of Kandovan is a masterclass in historical improvisation under extreme duress. In the 13th century, as the unstoppable and notoriously brutal horse, hooves of the Mongol army tore through the Persian mainland, the local population faced the binary choice: flee into the high altitude or perish. They chose the cliffs, discovering these ready-made, cone-shaped rock formations left behind by ancient volcanic eruptions of Mount Sahand. They didn't try to clear the stone away. Instead, using rudimentary hand tools and sheer desperation, they hollowed out the rock from the inside out. The mountain itself became their fortress, their shield, and ultimately, their permanent inheritance. They dug out multiple vertical levels within single stone cones. Typically, the base level serves as a stable or storage area for livestock, an ingenious design that utilizes the rising body heat of horses and sheep to warm the residential levels stacked directly above. Higher up, windows, staircases, niches, and living rooms were meticulously chiseled into the porous mass. If you think your modern apartment layout is restrictive, try fitting your entire life into a home where you cannot adjust a single wall without risking a structural collapse or an accidental breakthrough into your neighbor's kitchen. But the real genius of Kandovan lies in a fascinating piece of thermodynamics that modern eco-architects are still trying to copy. Volcanic tuff is a highly porous material, trapped with millions of microscopic air bubbles from its fiery birth. This creates a natural bio-breathing insulation layer of unprecedented efficiency. When the merciless high-altitude, high-summer heat strikes the plateau, the thick stone walls lock the heat outside, keeping the interiors beautifully cool. Conversely, during the brutal Azerbaijani winters, when temperatures plummet well below freezing and blankets of snow isolate the region, these cave homes trap internal heat, maintaining a stable, ambient temperature of around 71 degrees Fahrenheit without a single watt of modern HVAC technology. It is a home that breathes with the seasons, transforming volcanic remnants into a highly functional, zero-energy climate shelter. Of course, living in a medieval volcanic cone does wonders for your physical fitness. There are no smooth driveways or flat sidewalks here. Every daily errand requires scaling steep, narrow stone steps cut directly into the vertical slopes. The average 80-year-old grandmother in Kandovan possesses the quadriceps of an Olympic track athlete, routinely carrying heavy groceries up a vertical incline that would make an American gym-goer look for an elevator as the late afternoon sun casts long, dramatic shadows across these ancient rock towers. You witness a way of life that refuses to become a frozen exhibit. Sitting in a tiny cafe carved straight into a cliffside, you get to try Abgoosht, a deeply satisfying Highland mutton stew cooked slowly for hours, with chickpeas and potatoes inside clay pots. The broth is poured over torn pieces of flatbread, followed by the solids being mashed into a rich paste, paired with a glass of local Highland yogurt drink, diluted with mountain, spring water and wild mint. The food tastes exactly like the landscape, heavy, functional, and deeply rooted in survival. Kandovan stands as a living testament that when the world outside becomes an unlivable war zone, humanity can dig deep into the fiery core of the earth and carve out a masterpiece of quiet defiance. Leaving behind the high Azerbaijani peaks, we drive southeast toward South Khorasan province, where the landscape flattens into the harsh, dust-blown horizons bordering Afghanistan. Here, right at the unforgiving edge of the Dashti Kavir Desert, strange settlement emerges from the earth. It sits so low and blends so perfectly with the grayish-brown clay that you could easily mistake it for an abandoned field of mud mounds. This is Makunik. For centuries, It was known across the region by a whisper that bordered on myth. The village of the dwarves. Step into the historic core of Makunik, and the conventional scale of human life immediately breaks down. The houses here are tiny single-room units, built from a crude mixture of mud, straw, and broken stones, measuring barely 100 to 130 square feet. But it's the doorways that trigger a genuine sense of disorientation. They are tiny, rectangular openings, rising just 20 to 28 inches off the ground. To enter any home in Makunik, a fully grown adult cannot simply duck. You must deeply bend your spine, tuck your knees, and practically crawl inside as if bowing to the earth itself. For a long time, outsiders assumed this was purely a defensive trick to force intruders into a vulnerable head-first position. But the real reason is a compelling combination of genetic isolation and brutal climate adaptation that mainstream channels rarely dig into. If the slope is a fraction of a degree too steep, the rushing water will erode and destroy the tunnel. If it's too flat, the water stagnates and dies. By keeping this aquatic lifeline buried deep under the desert floor, the ancient engineers achieved the ultimate victory over the sun. They stopped evaporation. Every precious drop of mountain snowmelt flows silently beneath the burning rock, turning barren wasteland into lush orchards of pomegranates and purple valleys of saffron, the red gold that dictates the economic pulse of central Iran. But out here, survival isn't just a matter of subverting gravity. It's about moving when the earth demands it. If you travel southwest toward the rugged limestone canyons of the Zagros Mountains, you will cross paths with the Bakhtiari and Qashqai, the last true nomads of the Middle East. Twice every single year, thousands of these pastoralist families embark on the Kush, an epic seasonal migration that has remained unchanged since the dawn of the Persian Empire. When the summer heat turns the southern plains into a furnace, they pack up their entire households' tents, woven from dark goat hair that breathe in the wind and swell shut to repel the rain and lead tens of thousands of sheep directly across rushing glacial rivers and freezing mountain passes. It is a grueling, visceral spectacle of sheer willpower. Women in brightly patterned, multi-layered skirts guide heavy livestock. Up until the early 20th century, Makunik was almost entirely cut off from the rest of Persia due to a severely restricted, near-vegetarian diet relying almost exclusively on turnips, barley, and the starchy fruit of the jujube tree. Combined with generations of inbreeding within a tiny population pool, a significant percentage of the older inhabitants suffered from a form of dwarfism, standing nearly a foot shorter than the average human. But these people weren't victims of their environment. They were masters of it. In a desert climate where summer temperatures easily cross 110 degrees Fahrenheit and winter nights bring screaming, sub-zero winds from Central Asia, building a tall, spacious house is a logistical death sentence. So, the people of Makunik dug down. They excavated the floors of their homes 3 feet into the solid earth, effectively burying half the structure underground. By keeping the ceilings low and the doors small, they minimized the internal air volume. This earth-sheltering technique works like a natural thermal battery. The deep soil acts as a barrier against the sun in the summer and retains body heat during freezing winters, keeping the room at a survivable temperature without a scrap of firewood. To store food in a place where moisture is non-existent and insects are ruthless, they didn't build storehouses above ground. Instead, they chiseled deep, narrow storage pits directly into the rocky hillsides, known as Kanduk. These pits are sealed with stone slabs and wet clay, keeping grains and dried jujube fruit perfectly preserved for years, completely immune to the outside heat or nomadic raids. If we move further west toward the central desert city of Yazd, this obsession with subterranean cooling transforms into an absolute architectural masterpiece. The badgers, or windcatchers, rising high above the desert skyline like elegant, hollow mud brick towers. These structures are the world's oldest entirely passive air conditioning systems. The tower is divided into internal vertical shafts facing multiple directions. When even the slightest scorching breeze moves high above the hot streets, the windcatcher traps it. As the air is forced down the tight shafts, it follows the Venturi effect, accelerating in speed and dropping in pressure. At the bottom of the shaft, the air passes directly over an underground pool of cold water connected to a Qanat, a hidden subterranean aqueduct. The rushing air instantly evaporates, a tiny fraction of the water, absorbing its heat and cooling the air by up to 30 degrees Fahrenheit, before circulating it through the lower living quarters. It is clean, silent, and flawlessly brilliant engineering operating on nothing but fluid dynamics and sun-baked mud. Of course, living in these extreme conditions requires an equally resilient diet. In Makunik, you won't find lush vegetables or fresh seafood. Instead, you survive on Kashkard, a heavy, functional soup made from dried, fermented curd grains and wild desert herbs. It looks simple, but it is packed with dense probiotics and essential minerals designed to keep the human gut flora alive when fresh greens are completely out of reach for 6 months at a time. It tastes intensely sour, borderline medicinal, and reminds you with every spoonful that luxury is a modern invention. In these desert outposts, survival isn't about fighting the sun. It's about learning to step quietly into the shadow of the earth and letting the planet protect you from its own ferocity.